So there's a lot of benefits to getting involved with music licensing, and I have outlined tons of them here on my channel. But there's one main benefit to licensing your music through music libraries that I think is one of the main reasons why this industry is so powerful and why it actually can give you basically ridiculous levels of income that is not necessarily always possible in other areas of the music business. And that is the potential for your tracks to be used simultaneously in multiple outlets, in multiple TV shows, multiple networks even, so that you're getting royalties from various outlets and various platforms from one song. Right? So I talked about this in my master course actually, and the concept is that if you threw out 10 songs, a lot of producers sometimes mistakenly assume that like, well, each one of those songs will probably get into one TV show, so I'll have maybe 10 placements off of my 10 songs. That's not how it potentially can work for you. I mean, there's no guarantees, but if you're making very licensable music and you're serving the needs of your clients, of your libraries that you're supplying, one song can get placed into 10 different TV shows, or even more. I've had many songs placed in dozens of TV shows. And sometimes you'll get new placements from the same song you did years ago, right? So I still have songs that I wrote in 2010 that I still get new royalties, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that track. And some library out, or some music supervisor out there finds my track in a library that I've distributed through, and they're like, this is great, and they throw it in there. Now, obviously, if you're making music that's very stylized and it kind of gets dated, like one of the examples I always use is like if you were a dubstep producer and that's all you did for a couple of years in the licensing business is just make dubstep music, oof, you're going to be hurting right now because dubstep's out and nobody really wants to throw dubstep into their shows anymore. It's just a dated sound and it just sounds like 2013, and we are not there anymore. So including some timeless elements, whether that be some strings, some piano, guitar, bass, things that basically they've been relevant since the 50s, since the Beatles came out, right? And they haven't really gone away. And even though genres come and go, these instruments usually come and find their way back into the mainstream, right? So there's a couple of ways to make sure you don't get sort of pigeonholed and sort of left behind as time goes on. But back to the point, we had one member in the syndicate, through an opportunity that we provided, have one of his songs land in 6 different TV shows and on 2 different networks, actually. So it was spanning a couple of different networks. And while this member was ecstatic and excited, this is just normal business in the licensing industry. Okay, this is what you should be getting expected and getting used to if you're making good music and if you're going to be a serious player in here, okay? So just one song spreading out across 6 different TV shows means that he's going to be getting those royalties for every single one of those placements, right? Now, even if he only gets paid, some of the TV shows that go on the air, they only go through one cycle and then they maybe get canceled or something. But some TV shows, they go into syndication, they get played on reruns, they just keep playing over and over and over again, right? So if you get on a popular TV show, not only do you get paid for those sort of initial airs that go out, but you could be getting paid for years and years. And then when that same show maybe gets syndicated in another country, right, you start getting paid for those as well. That is the power of passive income and exponential growth with your royalties in the licensing business. That's what's unique about this industry as opposed to if you're just directly selling your track to consumers or to your fans. You have to put out new music, they buy it once. There's not a lot of passive income there. You just sort of get your one-time fee, or even the same thing with like stock music or royalty-free libraries. You might get your one-time payment, and that might be great, and maybe you can make some money off of it, but you're not going to start stacking up that passive income where you're getting paid for doing nothing, right? And who doesn't want that? Of course, you did the work, but that feeling of like when I open up a royalty check and it's like I'm still getting paid for stuff that I did almost basically a decade ago, that's pretty cool, right? And that's what passive income should feel like, and that's what I want you guys to be thinking about in the long run. And in order to get there, though, you do have to have that sort of long-term mindset and that belief that you can get into that sort of potential exponential growth with your royalties, okay? You have to just believe it, and even if you face rejection, even if you don't get custom gigs, even if you get even rejected by a couple of libraries up front, you have to push past all of that to see the bigger picture of this, okay? Everybody that's ever succeeded and accomplished their goal face some form of rejection, heavy forms, light forms, medium forms. I myself included, I'm no exception to this. And I still, to this day, 10 years in, don't always get the gig, don't always get the custom gig, don't always get my music accepted to the opportunities that I want to be included on, okay? But the difference between, I was telling the syndicate members this, the difference between an amateur and a professional is an amateur, when faced with rejection, takes their ball and goes home and doesn't want to play anymore, right? The professional just learns what they can learn from it. They, whatever, just accept it. Okay, this sucks. Nobody likes to be rejected. It's never going to feel good. Okay, so just accept that. But think about what you could learn. Maybe you could figure out what your track wasn't including that should have been included, or maybe you weren't following the references or the instructions enough. Whatever it is, you must then take a step back and remember the bigger picture. What am I doing this for? Was I really into this business just to get this one commercial or this one opportunity or get with this one library? Probably not. You're in this business because you want to create a full-time income, right? You have a more of a system approach to this industry and not just a pinpoint, I want to get my song in that TV show. If you have those kind of very specific goals and you don't reach them, you can feel like a failure, and you're not a failure for not getting those specific goals. There's so many things that I wanted to do in this business that I wasn't able to. But am I a failure because I didn't achieve those specific things? I don't think so. I'm still doing this full time. Still got great relationships, and my catalog is growing, and my placements are growing, and my royalties are still growing. So I don't feel like a failure at all, but that's because my mindset has been much different than just looking for the specific pinpoint goals. I've been more of a systemic thinker, just thinking about how can I create a system of success for however I can get to that end goal. How do I make sure I get there? And that's what I would think is the most effective way to succeed in this industry. And so I want you guys to really be aware of that. But remember, exponential growth, that's definitely possible. And that's really where the money is. That's really where long-term income and full-time income really come from, is when you're actually stacking up. You did one song, but you're stacking up just tons and tons of royalty checks off of that one song. And then when you have dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of songs, alt mixes, different versions of it out there in the system, you can see how it's like you're building an army. That's why I use that analogy, because you literally are. You're building up this entire just empire, right, of potential passive income royalties for yourself for years and years, decades and decades, to feed you, feed your family, and allow you to do what you would love to do for a living. So it's absolutely possible, and I think that that's the smart way to approach this business, not getting so lost in the, well, I want to get that, $25,000 custom queue, and if I get that, then it's okay, that's great, go for it, I hope you get it, that's awesome, but there's only one guy or girl who's going to get that gig. Everybody else is going to get said no to. And if everybody that gets said no to, some will give up and get discouraged, and others will just push on and realize, you know what, it was a good shot, I took my best effort, but I'm still moving on because I'm a professional, and professionals just move forward, all right? We don't make excuses, we don't feel sorry for ourselves, we don't take our ball and run home, we just get back in the game and keep playing. That's what you got to do.